Tom, we always like talking to you. Tom Murphy, Whole Hog Sports, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. I know you've listened to a lot of coaches these last couple days. Coach Pittman, Coach Souders, Coach Fouch. We're going to hear from Coach Perry later on in the secondary. A lot of players as well. You've been riding. You've been just doing transcripts and everything else. Tom, what has stood out to you in these first couple days, getting some eyes on in practice here in Fayetteville?
Well, good morning, Ty. It's always a pleasure, and I appreciate the compliment. I always enjoy talking to you guys as well. So I would say that Sam Pittman's enthusiasm about the team is pretty strong, I mean, greater than a lot of the fans. And I just think he feels that because they added so many veteran players who know how to practice and kind of know what it takes, that they're gonna upgrade. But so much is contingent on if the offensive line is really going to be better, if they can find somebody who can rush the passer, and if there's enough depth and all that kind of stuff. But it's not different than probably any other camp you find across college football. Optimism, and if this and this and this go right, then we have a chance to be a good team. We can surprise some people. For Arkansas and many other teams across the SEC who want better seasons, you got to go in there and they beat Tennessee last year. Well, they got to pull off 2 or 3 of those for it to be a special season, and they have to pull off a bunch of them for it to be, an unforgettable type season. So a lot of work to do, but there's optimism in camp.
Tom, it starts with Talon Green. I know that they're doing some virtual reality stuff. He's trying to get better. You've probably gotten a chance to listen to Coach Petrino and just his conversations with not just Talon but the other quarterbacks. What has stood out with you about Arkansas's QB1 here these first few days?
Well, I mean, so far so good. I mean, we haven't seen a whole lot outside of fastballs, and I don't think they're showing a whole lot to the media in fastballs, to be honest with you. I'm not sure if, Omega Blake has been targeted. I think C.J. Brown's been targeted a couple times, and surely Railen Sharp, and who, in my view, and I'll probably make a prediction on this late in camp, but at this stage of camp, I would say Sharp might have the best chance of leading the team in receptions. We might revisit that later. But his position in the slot's going to be really big for this receiving core this year. And, Talon's dynamic in the run game is always going to be a huge part of it, because if you can get teams playing man and he can break free from the rush or whatever, he can really hurt you. He can run on 3rd and 5, and he can do so many different things. So keeping him healthy is a big part of their plans this year. And how much better will he be? How much quicker on his reads? How much more understanding will he have of what the defense is trying to do to him? He talked about that in Atlanta at great length. And if he can process things faster, make smarter reads, find some receivers he believes in, it could be an upgrade for Arkansas's offense overall. And honestly, when you finish 10th in the country in total offense, there's not a whole lot of room to go up.
Mm-hmm. We're talking with Tom Murphy, Whole Hog Sports, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette here on the Lewis Automotive Group hotline. Tom's visit's always courtesy of the Arkansas Beef Council. You mentioned Railen Sharp, the possibility, and haven't written it yet, but at least you're kicking it around as an idea. Tom, why do you think that? What has he done in the limited practice that you've gotten to watch to make you believe that he belongs even in that conversation?
Well, for starters, he knew Petrino's offense from his year at Missouri State, and it might have been 2 years he had in that system before he went to Fresno. And he's playing with a chip on his shoulder. We talked to him yesterday, and it's about he said almost verbatim, I always knew I was deserved to play on this level, or I could play on this level. So he's got a lot to prove, and to me that was the theme of the receivers in the room with us, with Ronnie Fouch yesterday, receivers coach. They've got a lot to prove. But I just think his position, Talon likes him, first of all. You can say, he looks at him. He thinks he's going to be open. And in the slot, you're up against nickel backs. You're up against maybe safeties who don't have the greatest cover skills. So I just think his position, his veteran presence, his knowledge of the Petrino offense, and his connection with Talon all kind of stack up in his favor.
And I think that's hopefully something that will help Arkansas. You mentioned the chip on the shoulder. I think that's been been used to hopefully describe this football team, because I think there's a lot of people that have them as just kind of a mid team around 500. Listen, every college football team is motivated in some way, shape, or form. But is that been something you've noticed, not just in the wide receiver room, but across the position groups with this team in fall camp thus far?
Certainly, and it was the most demonstrative yesterday, because I think they know that there's such a changeover at receiver. You know, when you add up Armstrong, Tesla, Satania's, and Broden's catches, and Luke has, you're looking at, I don't know, 80-90% of their catches last year. And then, you know, you add in Jaquindon Jackson and Rashad Dubin, and you got a lot more of those catches. Mm-hmm. So I think they feel like they're undervalued. I think they feel like they know the general vibe on Arkansas is picked well low in the SEC, and the expectations aren't great, and the schedule's tough. I mean, their 4 road games are all against teams who were ranked in the SEC.
And then more games last year too, Tom. Sorry, I'm joking up.
Yeah, it's tough, and they got Notre Dame on the schedule too. So I do believe there's a lot of that. We're going to try to prove people wrong this year vibe to this team.
Okay, and on the subject of wide receivers, Tom, I listened to Coach Fouch yesterday, talked about the difference in body types. I mean, Broden's 6'6", 6'7", Tesla 6'3", 6'4", Andrew kind of that same length. By no means were those guys slow. Broden and Tesla particularly had wheels, and Andrew was just an incredible route runner and had awesome hands. But that was one of the things. And I know Omega Blade's kind of that 6'3" range, but you got a lot of smaller body. The composition in this room, and maybe what you picked on it, and what Coach Fouch had to say about it.
Exactly. That was to my question of Arkansas fans are used to seeing these tall guys, and when you look at the room, so I think we all wrote in spring that you don't have a bunch of tall guys. And I thought his response was very telling, and I'm writing about this at Link tomorrow, in that we wanted guys with grit and toughness and fast. We think they can get open. And so, you know, you do add Antonio Jordan, who's not super fast, but can win a lot of 50-50 balls. So between Blake and Antonio Jordan, you do have – and then some other guys are 6'1", 6'2", like that, but not like in the range of Tesla and Broden. So it's going to be a very interesting dynamic, because I think creating separation last year was a real issue for this team. And so they addressed that and specifically recruited guys who, you know, maybe have more speed and have the ability to beat man coverage and find open pockets in zones and make the catches and then make yards after catch, which is a big thing, because they didn't have a ton of that last year.
I know that there's been a few people that have attended practice, not on the team or the staff. I think Ethan, your colleague, wrote about Anthony Switzer, who was on the team last year, Coach Tice, who was at Harrison for a number of years, now at Farmington. Any other notable appearances from former players or just anyone else to note, Tom, that's been at fall camp these last few days?
Yeah, well, another ex-Farmington coach, Mike Adams, he's and Fayetteville High School, my former neighbor. He's a regular at practices. He's been here. You know, in a series of scouts. I mean, they had about 4 yesterday, including the Titans and I think the Browns, a couple more. The Broncos were there today, and you know, ex-players are gonna show up. And yeah, I did see Switzer yesterday, and it's good to see. But always in camp, you're going to have some of that going on.
Later on today, you're going to get a chance to talk with Coach Perry on kind of the defensive back end. And Tom, I know we've talked for the first 10 minutes or so more about offense, wide receiver room, and whatnot. Maybe what as a guy that's watched fall camp and those positions the last few days, maybe what's curious to you of Coach Perry and heading into this season 25 days from now?
Yeah, I think, you know, he's more specifically the corners guy. So we'll be talking to several cornerbacks today, and we haven't seen, you know, not since spring, we haven't seen one-on-one type stuff like the receivers versus the DBs. And I think that's intentional because we'd be writing about who's looking great and all that kind of stuff. And maybe they want to keep that to a minimum. But so the big question is, and this is a Sam Pittman line, but they're taller at cornerback, and I think they're going to hold up more so they can do more creatively with their pass rush. And so that's Jaheim Singletary. I think he's 6'1". And then you look across the board. Selman Bridges is a tall corner, 6'2". Kanai Walker and Julian Neal are both over 6 feet tall. And so, it gives you a little bit more chance against taller receivers. And if they have the speed to match it, they might hold up a lot better in man coverage. I know that was a big focus because they were last in the SEC in passing yards allowed this year. So they've got to make big strides there. And if you have corners that you can rely on and not only, couple, but maybe you can go 4 deep, it's a big component to playing really good defense is having that.
Thomas, we'll let you go this morning. We appreciate your time as always. Coach's poll is out. Texas at 1, Ohio State at 2. I think Notre Dame's at 5. You've got several teams that you have to play this season that are included in that top 25. Any surprises when you saw the coach's poll either this morning or yesterday?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, and then I think there was it 8 or SEC teams in the poll, or
that sounds right.
8 or 9, but anyway, and Oklahoma and Auburn, or Oklahoma and Missouri were the first 2 teams out of it. So Arkansas is playing a bunch of teams that are ranked right now, including Notre Dame. And honestly, the Memphis game, I mean, they were in the other receiving votes. And if they get off to a good start, 2-0, and some of those other teams drop, they could be ranked by the time Arkansas plays them in week 4. So it's a tough schedule. And as I mentioned before, all 4 of their conference road games are against teams that are ranked, including highly ranked like Texas, LSU, and then they also have Ole Miss and Tennessee. So you're playing teams that were in the playoffs last year, highly regarded. But if you're going to have a good season, you got to win the home games. You got to try to knock one of these road teams off. So it's no different than all these other years that Arkansas's schedule's always been the toughest. It just doesn't have Alabama on it.
Yeah, or Georgia, which I was advocating for yesterday. If I'm Hunter Yurachek or anyone in the athletics department, I'm sending an email, a letter, or calling the SEC office every day and saying we don't want Alabama and Georgia both on the road or both at home, because you don't want that what Auburn has to deal with each and every year. Like, they get them at home this year, Tom, but they have to travel on the road in 2026. And I know that's not exactly an easy situation based on the power of both those programs. Well, Tom, we'll leave it there, man. Good stuff as always, and we'll chat again on Thursday, and we'll see if anything happens notable between now and then.
Outstanding. See you then.